Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The Department of Labor is developing an emergency rule to require all employers with 100 or more employees that together employ over 80 million workers to ensure their workforces are fully vaccinated or show a negative test at least once a week. Some of the biggest companies are already requiring this. United Airlines, Disney, Tyson's Food, and even Fox News. The bottom line, we're going to protect vaccinated workers from unvaccinated coworkers.
Are you guys ready? I mean, who's excited for the clash that's going to begin? It is, look, he knew this was going to be a hornet's nest, and he knew there were going to be people across the country, as well as governors, that were going to take straight legal action, and they've already gone out and done it. Here, Doug Ducey, you're going to have DeSantis, Abbott, many others are already ready to file. What have I said about Trump's legacy, right? The media will portray Trump's legacy as chaos, craziness, lunacy. Some of that's true. Some of that's caused by them. But the legacy that matters, okay, the legacy that actually matters is that court, the Supreme Court. 6-3, 5.5, right? 5.5, 3.5, if you want to look at it in one way, because with Chief Justice Roberts. But the reality is the conservative side, even at worst, is 5-4. But it's really 6-3. It's all about that interpretation. That's Trump's legacy. Everything else, the chaos, the nightmare, at times, the stuff that was good, bad, none of that stuff, most of that stuff is momentary. This is generational. And when these things go to court, what are you going to see happen? It's all about that interpretation. It's all about that interpretation. How do you file the suit? What's that suit look like? How do you force employers? We're not forcing employers. No, you feel like you're pushing employers to do some things in a day and age when they're struggling to find employees. This is going to be a battle, and you always knew it would. Anything anybody does, right? If this is a Republican governor, if Republican president, the Republican governors would be fine. The left-leaning governors, more often than not, would be pushing back. That's not true. It's absolutely true. Let's go back 9 months, okay? Mask, vaccines.
Should be mandatory?
No, I don't think it should be mandatory. I wouldn't demand to be mandatory, but I would do everything in my power. Just like I don't think masks have to be made mandatory nationwide. Do everything in my power as President of the United States to encourage people to do the right thing, and when they do it, demonstrate that it matters.
Okay, right? Wow, boy, that's not too. That's just 9 months ago. Yeah. How about Pelosi? How about should vaccines be mandatory?
So here's the thing. We cannot require someone to be vaccinated. That's just not what we can do. It is a matter of privacy to know who is or who isn't.
They'll use their words against them. And look, this thing has changed, right? I mean, let's be real. This thing has changed. That's why I always say, write your goals, write your future and stuff, write certain things in pencil. And the reason's pretty simplistic. Because life is going to change. You're going to have to, you know what? I got to erase that, write something new. That's obvious that Delta has changed the game somewhat. In saying all of that, you knew this was coming, and you knew exactly where it was going. I mean, we should just start in the courts at times. That's the way I've always felt is we have three co-equal branches, right? And the reality is the 1% always counted because it's how do you have co-equal branches? You're not going to have, somebody's going to have a little bit of an edge, right? You three, if you divide it, yeah. The way I look at it is those 9 men and women are the final say in the things that we do, the battles that we have. The battles that we have. So be prepared. He wasn't done.
We see the stories of hospitalized people on their deathbeds among the unvaccinated over the past few weeks. This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated, and it's caused by the fact that despite America having unprecedented and successful vaccination program, despite the fact that for almost 5 months, free vaccines have been available in 80,000 different locations, we still have nearly 80 million Americans who have failed to get the shot.
Why have they failed to get the shot? For some, let's just say there's probably 2 to 3 million through religious and through the Americans Disability Act that they're not going to get the shot. They can't, right? For some, they can't. My son's sister. So I mean, my son's aunt. He's thank God he's had it already, so his immunity is through. He's got antibodies, is fine, but she cannot get it because she's had a double lung transplant. The stuff in there would apparently, from what they're saying, what they're doing to keep it from being rejected, and they have for the years, this would not work well with that. So they can't, because the minute they introduce it to her, it would essentially kill all those antibodies. So she's got to be as careful as possible. But she's also got other layers of protection. All right, that's one person. But then you've got another probably 78 million. Some of them are crazy, aren't getting it. And by the way, everybody thinks it's always the people on the right. And yeah, there's a lot of them out there. And I would say a good majority of those people out there are probably leaning right. But there's a lot of people out there on the left that they don't want to get the kids vaccinated. They don't want this for themselves. They don't get the flu shot. And then you've got the people out there who really don't care about politics so much as they think, hey, you know what? I could beat this thing on my own. I'm healthy living, natural immunity, those kind of things. So it's not just one side. Yes, but the media makes it think it's all about that singular side. No, there's a lot to it. But yeah, do a majority of them lean to the right? Yeah. Unfortunately, this thing has become politics. It's become politics globally. We're going to talk about it in a little bit because I will tell you this. What's going on in Australia should make people think. What's going on in Australia is insane. A modern, free, wealthy society that is clamped down like Wuhan was. And this has been going on a while. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from each and every single one of you. Tomorrow marks 20 years. Think about that for a second. 20 years. 20 years. 2 decades since 9/11. We have Valen filling in for Phil this week. Valen, how old are you? If you don't mind me asking.
I am 23.
23. So you were 3 years old when this took place.
Yeah, I have no remembrance of it, actually.
No remembrance. A lot of people, younger people, have no idea what took place that day. They have no idea what it was like. Yesterday, I was fortunate enough to speak with a lady named Stacy Goodman. She's got a book coming out about 9/11. She was a Suffolk County police officer. I think she was in her, I think she said she'd only been there a little while. She ended up retiring as a detective. She moved out here to Arizona. But as she said, she spent 23 straight days on the pile and called it ground zero yet. She goes, we called it the pile. She was essentially the ground floor, the ground zero morgue. And her task was to try to do everything she could to identify the bodies before she could even get them over to the medical examiner. But she talked about essentially pulling up there because they deputized her really fast as a federal agent, and her pulling up there.
The devastation was unrecognizable. The amount of debris, that there was just particles of dust floating everywhere, and there was no. The landscape had totally changed. There was no street signs to give you direction. It was just gray ash everywhere. It looked like you landed on the moon or something. It was just horrific. It was just piles and piles of twisted steel, metal. There was smoke and ash everywhere.
We got out of Afghanistan. I think we're all taking a step back and going, what took place 20 years ago? Could it happen again? We'll touch throughout the day on 9/11, and many of you who are, obviously in your, many of you are in your 40s, 50s, 60s, you remember that day. The younger generation has really no memory of it whatsoever at all. And it's a day I won't forget. And I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I said, it seems like forever ago, except for the day of, all the way through the weekend. I remember that as if it was yesterday. The others thing seems like just memories, 20 years ago. I don't know. But that snapshot of those, the day of and the preceding days, it's etched in my mind. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. And we're going to talk about football last night because, yes, Tom Brady is a freak. He is not a human. He is a hybrid weirdo. Just point that out to everybody. You're not supposed to do that at that age. You're not. You made a deal with something, some sort of entity. I don't know what it is. Raycon, best earbuds around. Love my Raycons. Wear them every single day. You guys, you always hear me talk about it. I mean, I can go on and on about the comfort. I can go on and on. I'm amazed at how amazing they are. I fell asleep last night with my Raycons on and forgot this morning I even had them on. I woke up, kind of just because I don't feel them. I was listening to an audiobook and just kind of faded out, and it is incredible. It is truly incredible how amazing they are. The fit, the comfort, the noise isolating fit, just being able to control the sound and having that awesome, incredible charging case is awesome because you don't have to be tethered to anything. So right now, get your Raycons. They start under $70. No stems, no wires. Best earbuds around. You will love, 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 love these. 45-day happiness guarantee. BuyRaycon.com/Chad saves you an extra 15%. BuyRaycon.com/Chad. BuyRaycon.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
Podcasts are American as hot dogs, apple pie, football, and sushi.
Oh my goodness.
No.
Okay, maybe not sushi. Next time you have a craving for something sweet and tangy, download a Chad Benson Show podcast.
Boy, that is good. It's different because you get a little bit of saltiness. It's so good because it's sweet and salty at the same time.
Get a taste on iTunes, iHeart, or Spotify and binge to your ears' content.
Oh, yeah.
You're listening to The Chad Benson Show.
Yeah, baby. A little football last night. Enjoyed it. Cowboys. Dak Prescott, by the way, can I just say, it shows no effect of his shoulder being a little sore or that broken, dislocated ankle. Shows no ill effect. I think he threw the ball. He set a record for himself throwing the ball. He had 403 passing yards. But you're playing you're playing the great expatriate, the now great Buccaneer, the Hall of Famer, the king, the greatest of them all, can't even be debated anymore, in Tom Brady. And Tom talked after the game last night about the difference between last year and this year. Because last year it didn't start out great.
Last year sucked after the first game. Let me say that. That was come a long ways from 365 days ago. That was a pretty lonely feeling after the game there in the Superdome. But again, we won. It's great, but, we know that it was a far from perfect, and we've got to get back to work and clean a lot of stuff up.
Yeah, he had 3 interceptions, but he also had 4 touchdown passes. 2 of those interceptions, like one was a Hail Mary at the end of the first half, and the other one, he had a guy, Fournette, right in the hands, and who happened to then throw the ball to apparently somebody else. It was just, that was bad. But Dak looked great. But once again, you're playing a guy who's 44. Put into perspective, right? Like, because most of you listening are probably in your late 30s, 40s, some of you in your 50s. You look at somebody like Tom Brady, he's 44 years old. Yet Chris Collinsworth said it last night. Is it possible? Is it absolutely possible that this guy at 44 is better, in better shape physically, way better shape mentally than he was at 24? Absolutely it is. How? Well, I mean, let's be real. The diet, the stretching, all of those stuff, genes play a huge part in anything. But it was awesome to watch. And it was great because the crowds were there. It felt good. It just felt so real. And that was, to me, the biggest takeaway outside of the game. That how it felt like pre-coronavirus versus post-coronavirus first season last year with it going on and empty stadiums, fake crowd noise. There was energy that was real. It was exciting. It just felt good. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Take an opportunity to shoot us a direct message, whatever you want to do. Check out our Instagram and Twitter as well. I try to respond to as many people as possible. So many people out there, you don't need to be so angry, right? Again, it doesn't help. We're, quote unquote, I saw a headline today is Civil War 2021. Of course, hyperbole. It's all about grabbing the headlines. But everybody, you're never going to achieve anything yelling at each other. So I want to say that. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I'm announcing that the Transportation Safety Administration, the TSA, will double the fines on travelers that refuse to mask. If you break the rules, be prepared to pay. And by the way, show some respect. The anger you see on television toward flight attendants and others doing their job is wrong. It's ugly.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, I think today it doubles in fines, so be prepared for that. The battle is beginning. COVID. The funny thing is when you listen to his speech last night, it's funny when I yesterday, my on-air partner and I on my local show here, we got into it because, so much it's about the kids, right? It's always about the kids. Everything's about the kids. If you want to, kids. And I said to him, are we worried about, we don't want anybody to get this. I don't want anybody to get the stomach flu, for God's sakes. It happens. I don't want somebody to get, any disease or it happens. What if your kid? My kids have had it. I don't want to say. By the way, I'm going to go over it again. This is what Jack had. Dad, I don't feel good. What's wrong? I don't know. I just don't feel good. Okay. Why don't you lay down and rest today? I'll probably feel a little bit better later. I want to play hockey. No. Why don't you lay down? You're taking a day or so, and then we're going to get you a test. No. 3 hours later, after hitting golf balls, come back. Jack's out front. I feel fine now. I'm totally cool. And yeah, he already had tested positive for COVID. But do you know how many kids have gotten this? Well, okay, if we're that terrified of this, when it comes to the kids? Is it the spread? Is it the teachers? Is it because it's a political battle? If we're in a situation where we're so terrified over it, even though we're looking at the numbers and yes, more and more are catching it, but the reality is well, there's more and more kids in the hospital. Understandable. But how many are I mean, what do we do? Do we shut down everything? Because my suggestion is, because everybody's like, well, we can mask. We can mask all day. You can play the mask game at school all day. But if we're serious and we're worried about the kids under 12 getting it, then the best thing to do is to say, if you cannot get vaccinated, then masking is not enough. You need to stay home. No interaction. Well, we can't do that. Why not? Because that's not, I'm throwing it out there. I think it's a fair question. Fair question to ask. Wouldn't it be better at that point in time just to have the kids stay at home? If that's it. No, the kids are a symbol in this battle, and the parents and everybody are fighting it. Yesterday, LAUSD was the first to come out and say, all right, everybody, you have to get a shot. It's mandatory. So the second largest school district in America is making it mandatory. Teachers are talking about kids with masks because kids will wear the mask, da-da-da. Well, here's one teacher.
When I tell the students to mask because there's no eating or drinking in the hallways, there's no unmasking in the hallways. When I do tell the students, please mask, pull up your mask, put your mask on, they get an attitude.
Oh, no, they get kids have attitudes? Yeah, they have attitudes.
There are, a very small minority of students who don't. And when you tell them, they get all bent out of shape because of it.
So what do you tell? I mean, how do we honestly come at this? You're going to make them wear their masks outside? Or you're not going to let them go outside because they could interact with one another? Are you going to try to control what happens when they leave there, saying you're no longer allowed to interact with any of your friends outside of here because their parents or your brothers or sisters, or you may have it, and you could pass it on to them, they could pass it on to you, so we wouldn't want that. The best thing to do at that point in time, if that's what we're trying to get to, it's not an easy thing. Human beings, we're social creatures. Australia right now is essentially given all the power they'll ever have and then some to the government. Let's just talk about what's going on in Australia. We're talking 2 months of lockdown. It's got to be awful in Australia, right? I mean, it's just got to be awful. Let's take a look at they're having a spike. They had 1,700 people catch it. Yesterday, 1,727. They've had just over 1,000 deaths. That this week? No, that's total. That's total. What was their end game? To essentially get to zero with this. Shut everything down. They've put essentially a lockdown of everybody. They want a COVID zero as a goal. And that was their target. How have they done it? Military. Yeah. This is what, think about this. This is what their head guy in the health world said. I want you guys to understand something. This is insane. You're allowed to go out for an hour or so a day. There's a few other things, but this is insane. The guy that is essentially their chief health officer, their Fauci, in the state of New South Wales. He says, whilst it is in human nature to engage in conversation with others, to be friendly, unfortunately, this is not the time to do this. They're testing out an app. This app is scary. Essentially, it enforces home quarantine. The app will contact people at random times, asking them the proof of their location. Within 15 minutes, if they fail to do so, the health department will notify the police, who will send officers over to check on them. By the way, if you were on vacation when all this happened and they shut it down, there's people that have been stuck in other countries for a very long time. You look at the streets in the cities in many places there, it's empty. But their goal is to get to zero. We're not going to. This thing's endemic, not pandemic. It's not going anywhere. I was arguing yesterday, and it became somewhat of an argument. It was, it's always about, my part greatest was like, Chad, you don't understand. 6,000 kids caught it here last month. And I'm like, yeah. You still don't understand. I'm like, yeah. I said, well, if we're that concerned about it, should we just keep them at home? If that's the concern we have. There are ways to fight this. I've got vaccinated. If you don't get vaccinated, that's a choice you made. Do I think it's a wise choice? Look, you make your own choices. No, I think it's simple and easy. I didn't get sick. I didn't have some weird reaction. I'm not magnetic or nothing sticking to me. I got it done. And I've had it. At the same time, I'm allowing human beings to make their choice. I believe that most people will make the right choice. Some people make wrong choices. They will. They will. But what else can we do? And people are saying, well, maybe the people who are unvaccinated shouldn't be treated in hospitals. How do you feel about that? Well, I said, first of all, doctors and nurses, they swore an oath, right? To do no harm. But I'm not going to freak out about that. I'm not. So there, problem solved. It's just, we can't have a conversation anymore in this country because all we want to do is fight about stuff. That's all we want to do is fight. We have no interest in anything other than arguing with one another. We don't see a big picture anymore. Everybody's focused on the micro when they should be focusing on the macro. Everybody's focusing on a singular thing. And there's more things out there we should be focusing on. It's frustrating. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Here's a perfect example. Believe science, believe science, believe science. Absolutely believe science. But also, what do we talk about? Find out who wrote the check. Who's writing somebody a check? What's the end game of that? This is Joe Bastardi. He is a meteorologist talking about climate change. This was another one of these things we battle on. Climate change. It's all human. It's all human. He's a denier. I mean, he's a meteorologist because the guy's he's not an idiot. But he is, once again, you can't have a differing of opinion, right? It's one thing.
It's so devastating as you see the floods of Ida, the storms of Ida in the south and in the northeast. Mother Nature is not happy with us in terms of how we recognize what challenges face us. Climate crisis is real. Human behavior has an impact on it. We have public policy proposals that I hope would be bipartisan.
So Nancy Pelosi, got to talk about it, how bad everything is. How bad. And what do we talk about when we talk about the things like, hey, you know what? If you build your house on an ocean and you know there's a hurricane, if nobody lived there and a hurricane hit, what do you have? But people build their houses, then the hurricane comes, then they rebuild their houses. And they're like, the devastation. Well, 150 years ago, people didn't live there. 100 years ago, people didn't live there the way that they do now.
Well, life has never been better on planet Earth, and that's because we adapt to whatever warming is actually taking place a lot better than if it actually got a lot colder. Just mention two names, Connie and Diane, 1955. What those two hurricanes did within 5 days of each other, we had an unbelievable situation in 55, and that was after the hurricane season of 54 that brought us Carol, which put Providence underwater, Edna, which hit Cape Cod, and then Hazel, 54, 55 back-to-back on the eastern seaboard. Unbelievable.
Well, that can't happen. No, it does. It did. It's just trying to point things out here. You go and you look, and they'll say, well, no, things aren't really any worse. We just had mass migration to the coastal side of things. And because of that mass migration, when we talk about many cases, look at the damage it's done. Of course, look at the damage it's done. If there's an earthquake today in California and there's no homes or very few homes, we wouldn't talk about the damage. It's like nobody lives there. If there's an earthquake today in the middle of the country where the population is, is scattered and very few people are like, oh, there was a 7.2, but nothing really happened, because we're talking about damage. We're talking about money. Because there's a vast amount of people that live in places like Florida, California, earthquakes. And what happens? Well, when you live in those places, because of the weather, because of the climate, because of what it has to offer, and many people migrate there, if something does go wrong, it's money side that pays the price.
How about 1933, September 4, 1933, 2 major hurricanes hitting the United States on the same day. The weather was hard to believe back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. I'm going to give you another example, folks. If you think it's bad now, let's look at Long Island out to Cape Cod. From 1938 to 1991, hit by a hurricane once every 7 years. Since 1991, have not been hit by a hurricane once. Even Henri, trying to come in from the Atlantic 2 weeks ago, fell apart trying to do it.
It's just pointing out stuff. Things have happened before. Now, you can't have 7.5 billion people on the planet and not tap into its resources and not cause issues. Adaptation, we're adapting in situations. You've seen where we've moved in certain places. We adapt to situations as human beings. So, yes, we're going to have some issues, but a lot of that also has to do with the migration and the way that we've put ourselves in certain places. But it's political. Another thing. Always seems to be like, okay, so essentially what you're telling me, this is really bad, and I need to give you more of my power and more of my freedoms and more of my money because you need to be able to save me. It's, you got to strike fear to get people to do things. And that's sad. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. I'm going to give you my picks for the NFL season this weekend, as I like to do. Find out what's playing at the box office as well. Chad Benson Show.
You stink like fear and white male privilege to me.
I do often out myself verbally as a gender. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm proud to be a gender.
Are you stupid? Are you kidding me?
Not a great way to use your white privilege.
Some people get it, some people don't.
You're listening to The Chad Benson Show.
Kristen Bell is a criminal couponer in Queen Pins.
We gotta steal these coupons.
The new dark comedy out this weekend, only in theaters, also stars Vince Vaughn in The Card Counter.
You need to back off.
Oscar Isaac stars as a guy suffering from PTSD in a dark drama from raging bull rider Paul Schrader. Oscar Isaac also in Scenes from a Marriage.
We can survive this.
He stars opposite Jessica Chastain in the HBO remake of the acclaimed 1970s miniseries. And Malignant.
I'm the only one that can see him.
Is the latest horror offering from James Wan in theaters and on HBO Max.
Yeah, I'll probably watch Malignant this weekend. Although the coupons ones, if you guys not seen it, it looks hilarious. And it's a true story about these ladies who stole a bunch of coupons and were making so much money. It was insane. You would think to yourself, what? They were making the kind of like mob money. You were like, they didn't even know what to do with it. There was so much. So I'm sure at some point in time I will watch that. But it's all about football this weekend. So last night, right? First game, kickoff, felt great. The excitement, victory, Tampa Bay, champs, 1-0. Cowboys, although I will say this, Cowboys look good. They're going to score a lot of points. Can they stop anybody? I think they're going to be okay. Jaguars, Texans, First look at the awful Texans, who may be the worst team in the NFL, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, number 1 overall pick, Thor Lawrence. I'm going to go with the Jags over that. Chargers versus Washington. Great game. One of the games of the weekend. I'm telling you guys right now, that game's awesome. Defense is amazing for Washington. They'll score points, I think, because they got Fitzmagic. But I think there's no way that they beat the Chargers. Oh, 49ers, Lions. 49ers will win that game. Jets, Panthers. So the Jets traded their quarterback, Darnold, to the Panthers. They got their young stud, Zach Wilson. I'm going to give the Jets a win on that one. Browns, Chiefs, go with the Chiefs. Broncos, Giants, go with the Giants. Bears, Rams, go with the Rams. Saints, Packers, got to take the Packers. Dolphins, Patriots, that's going to be a good game. I'm going with the Patriots. Cards are going to, they're going to go to Tennessee and lose. Sorry, guys. Vikings, Bengals, go with the Vikings. Steelers, Bills, best game of the weekend, maybe. I'm going to go with the Bills. Falcons, Eagles, go with the Falcons. Seahawks are going to beat the Colts. And the Raiders take on the Ravens. Go with the Ravens. Those are your picks, guys. Enjoy them. It'll be a fun weekend. NFL's back. I love it, baby. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The Department of Labor is developing an emergency rule to require all employers with 100 or more employees that together employ over 80 million workers to ensure their workforces are fully vaccinated or show a negative test at least once a week. Some of the biggest companies are already requiring this. United Airlines, Disney, Tyson's Food, and even Fox News. The bottom line, we're going to protect vaccinated workers from unvaccinated coworkers.
Bottom line. It's the battle right there. The vax versus the unvaxxed. They have thrown down the gauntlet. The test is here. You, the unwashed and uncleaned, are a stain on society. And because of that, you must be protected and separated from the rest of us. Do you understand? Again, it's not about freedom. It is about freedom. It is. It's about freedom. I will tell you this. I'm a huge believer in the vaccine. I'm even a bigger believer in freedom. Let's go over that again, Chad. Chad, explain that to me again. Let's slow down, though, because you're going a little bit fast. I'm a huge believer in the vaccine. I've had it, and I've had the vaccine. Moderna, top shelf. Why? Because it cost the most to make. And because where I went, only had Moderna. But I'm a bigger believer in freedom. Freedom of choice. Do you believe that for women, Chad? I do. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm a big believer in that. Call it the libertarian in me. Call it the libertarian in me. I believe it's the battle that we're having over this is stupid. But so many people are living in fear. That's what I hear all the time, right? Like that's the big thing to say, right? It's always about fear. Well, fear is an emotion. If you do what? If you get people scared, they will react. I go back to Mara Gay. Keep playing it over and over again, but I think it's something that's relevant when we talk about this. Because when you hear her, here is a journalist for the New York Times talking about fear.
A majority of Americans do actually fear this virus.
They do not. They don't fear the virus. And you should never fear the virus. You should respect what it can do. You should respect what it can do. That's been our theme all week. Don't live in fear. Respect each other. Yesterday, I thought some of Biden's speech was pretty good, And again, it's about respect. But it's funny because one group doesn't want to respect somebody who's not getting the vaccine for whatever their reason. The other group doesn't want to respect the people who've gotten the vaccine and are imploring them to, not the people that have gotten the vaccine and just, I got the vaccine, I'm getting on with my life. But the talkers out there, they don't respect them because they think they're morally, those people over there think they're morally superior. Well, we're in the know because we know that vaccine you took is going to cause you this, that, and the other. Or I know my body better. Okay. But we have a micro and a macro. Everybody's trying to win an argument. Right? So that's what everybody's trying to do. They're trying to win an argument. Life's kind of like tennis. Right? So you're playing tennis. We're at a point where we're rallying back and forth. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it's the most important point in the history of the world that we're going to get. But we're early in a 5-set match. It's everybody's trying to win that point as if that point wins everything, and it's not. That's not it. It's frustrating. But when I hear stuff like this, again, smart lady.
A majority of Americans do actually fear this virus and understand the science. They respect it. They've taken steps to protect themselves and their families.
And that's what you can do. Take steps to protect yourself and your family. And if you feel that you should be in a situation where you shouldn't have to wear a mask, no. You know what? If they come in your house, tell you need to wear a mask, or if you're driving, you need to wear a mask. If you're outside on a walk by yourself, you need to wear a mask. You tell them to go pack sand. That's what I would do. If a company asks you to wear a mask, it's your company. You can go somewhere else if you don't want to work there. That's their company. That's somebody else's business. Somebody else's business. Somebody else is writing the check. Somebody's liability is on the line. They're asking to do something. You do it. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, that freedom's not being taken from you. Now, when it comes to the shot, that's a different story. And that's the battle we're going to have. That's the battle we're going to have. Can you mandate the shot? Now, we do it in schools, right? Absolutely we do. How many things do we when it comes to polio and measles, mumps, rubella, all the stuff that we were talking about this yesterday. I mean, when I was a kid, date myself, I'm going to school the first time, and it was just I'm going to give you guys a snapshot of my sweet school experience. There was a time when I thought it was pretty cool because I had a Bee Gees lunchbox. And not cool as in, like, now if I had a Bee Gees lunchbox, I'd be like, dude, that's pretty awesome. You get a Bee Gees lunch. No, there was a time when my best friend and I had cool lunchboxes. I'm going to tell you about mine. I had a Bee Gees lunchbox. I thought it was pretty cool. Kept it for a few years. He one-upped me later on. He had a Menudo lunchbox. I was like, boom! Lunchboxes? What are those? It was lunch pail lunchbox. But we used to we had like this little booklet we'd have to take to school, show them all the vaccines we had. Yeah. This is a battle, and this is going to be tough. LA Unified School District announced yesterday they are going to require vaccines. All children over the age of 12.
The Los Angeles Unified Board of Education has voted to require all students who are eligible for the COVID-19 vaccination to be vaccinated, unless they have a qualified exemption or a conditional admission.
Yeah. Then I don't know what that is. Qualified exemption, Americans with Disability Act, religious exemption, some religions. And here's what the federal government's not going to make you do, right? They're not going to make you go against your religion. And if you can't take it, right, you can't take it. So there are people out there that cannot take it. They're allergic to some of the things. My son's aunt cannot take this. She has had a double lung transplant. You say, well, she should be the first one to take it. Well, the stuff that she is taking for her organs to make sure it doesn't reject her lungs would not react well to Johnson & Johnson or any of the other two. So she cannot. But they also think that there's enough stuff pumping through her that it would protect her. So she would be in a situation. My brother, Spencer, who you guys heard me talk about on the show, he's got brain damage, trach, G-tube. He's never walked in his life. He'll never walk. He's in a wheelchair or laying down. That's his only, but he can't take it because of the seizure medicine stuff the doctor doesn't recommend. Plus, because of his trach, he doesn't need to. He's in real danger of getting this thing because his trach has such a filter on it that it would be virtually impossible because he can't touch his eyes either. So those are the exemptions. But the lawsuits are coming. States across the country. Yesterday, you've heard, dictator, totalitarian. It's going to happen. And the most important thing that Trump has left behind in his legacy wasn't the chaos, wasn't the craziness, wasn't all the money that people made off of him for his books, wasn't all the money that everybody sits there and says, well, the media didn't do this down here. Oh, they were charging tons of money for him now. They're looking for something that keeps life rolling fat, dumb, and happy for him because nobody's paying attention like they used to anymore. It wasn't any of that stuff. It's those 9 men and women. The court. He moved the court to the right. When all is said and done, this is going to land in the court. And when it lands in the court, they're looking at the Constitution and the law. And they look at this, and so much of this is what? It's down to interpretation. You're taking away people's freedoms? We'll see. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. Give my dogs Rough Greens every single day. I'm telling you guys, give them Rough Greens. You will see a difference in your dog. Maybe your dog has allergies. Rough Greens has vitamins, minerals, vegetables, probiotics. It's gluten-free. It's got all this amazing stuff. It brings your dog's food to life. It's a supplement. You watch what it does to their coat. Their coat will become healthier. They'll itch less damage. It's incredible what it has done for my dog Doodle. And for him, I was really worried about his hips because he had bad hips, joint pain, arthritic hips. I was more worried about that. And when we gave him it, I noticed his coat almost immediately within a few days, and within about 10 days, it was changed. It was like, whoa. Try it before you buy it. You go to roughgreens.com, ruffgreens.com/Chad. When you do, they're going to send you a bag for free. You cover the cost of shipping. It's like $8 or something, and you get a free bag. It is worth it. ruffgreens.com/Chad, or call 833-MY-DOG-77, 833-MY-DOG-77. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
I usually don't get into politics. As an ordinary suburban housewife, I feel a little disrespected. I teach my children not to name call.
You are a blabbermouth!
Come on, man.
Guys, can we please keep the chatter to a minimum?
Chad Benson.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Let us find out what's trending. Finding out what's trending around the globe, around the United States of America. Started Twitter. Obviously, Biden's speech unveiling everything yesterday. Huge. Andrew Yang is no longer a Democrat. He says, I don't identify as a Democrat anymore. I'm planning to launch a third party next month. I'm interested to see what that looks like. Ooh, that'll be interesting for sure. For sure. For sure. For sure. Uh-huh. U.S. has a record-breaking $1.73 trillion in student debt. Trending. Big time. What are they going to do with that debt? I don't know. I don't know what they do. Kim Jong-un. People are looking at Kim Jong-un and asking the question, how much weight have you lost? Is he well? It goes back to the questions again. Is he well? Head on over to Google. NFL, Tom Brady, Buccaneers win last night. NFL search yesterday, 10 million. 10 million. 9/11 is trending everywhere. Matrix 4. So I watched the trailer yesterday. It looks like a giant, convoluted, hot mess. The first one was neat because I thought it was so much action that even if the story at times was... it was easier to follow. It started to get to a point where you're like, what are we doing here? I don't even know what's going on. Biden and his speech. Trending everywhere. Michael Constantine passed away. Father in my big fat Greek wedding. Drew Brees as well. If you guys saw Drew Brees last night, he's got a new haircut. Looks pretty good. He's out there. It's funny. You watch Drew Brees play football when he did. He's retired now and he's on the NBC broadcast. He is to all the other guys. Not a big dude, but he's standing there next to Tony Dungy and Mike Tirico. And you're like, he's a big guy. So how massive are those guys? Very big. Very, 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 very big. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from you. Jamie Lee Curtis last night got a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Venice Film Festival, and they debuted Halloween Kills. Oh. You know, it's interesting. I look at somebody like that. It's like, as you, so many actors shy away, I think, from certain roles. And I think she did for a little while. She didn't want to be the Scream Queen, but she did not want to be it. But she did. And over the last decade or so, she's totally embraced this. Right, she did the 20th anniversary movie, and then it's interesting to see. She's embraced this, and I think that's kind of cool. Like, it's absolutely kind of cool. Like, why wouldn't you? Like, this is one thing about, like, you go and look at Kirk. Oh yes, the anniversary was I think it was yesterday, but there is Shatner. Shatner's always embraced it. Some people never do in situations. They don't feel like to be typecast. I think she was fine with it eventually. She's fine. She's like, you know what? I'm good with this. If this is my gig, there's other things going on outside in the world I would rather not be doing than this. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Was it racist? Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
It's really unfortunate. I mean, people would like to say we're done with COVID, but COVID is not done with us. And that's really the problem, that you can't wish it away. When you have the numbers of infections that you just mentioned, certainly those who are unvaccinated should be wearing masks.
There you go. Where should we wear masks, though? Like you're not wearing it 24/7. Are you going to tell them they're not allowed to hang out with each other? You can tell them, and let's be real too. It's we can spread it if you're vaccinated. So are you? I mean, I don't. And let's get rid of the word vaccination. It's a shot. It's what it is. But it's not really. It is a protective shot that protects against catching it. And should you catch it, it does that job times 10, which is mitigating the damage it does to you. Ooh. I think people get stuck in their mind that the shot is a cure-all, and it's not. It's not a cure-all. So where do you wear masks? Well, I mean, for me, and this is just me, somebody asks you to wear a mask, it's about respect, right? Think about this for a second. Let's just say you're an anti-masker. Can't do it. You want to go somewhere and you're pissed off and angry at somebody because they're not going to let you come in the store or whatever without wearing a mask. If you invited somebody to your house and your rules were whatever they were for whatever reason, and you said, no, you can't do that here, we don't do that, you'd be like, why? You're taking away my freedoms? No. Now, if you're in your house by yourself, that's you. If you're in your house and it's your rules, your house, same thing for business. Their rules, their house. The government mandate for vaccines is going to be an interesting one that is going to be battled out in courts. And that is going to take a long time. And the mask thing is that debate's going to go on for a long time. Remember Dr. Macri? We've had him on before. Good guy. He goes on about the masking.
If masks do help, it ranks as number 5 or 6 in strategies after ventilation, adult vaccination, teen vaccination, and distancing.
Yeah, distancing's huge. I mean, let's be real. Everybody's like, these kids are catching it. Of course they are. They're around each other. They weren't. Your son caught it. He did. You know what he didn't do last year? He didn't see anybody. He went almost a year without seeing any of his friends. A year. He only saw his stepsisters and me outside of his family. That's it. Then you put him in a situation where he's going out, he's playing hockey now. Starts this guy's first little hockey practice this weekend. Very excited for Jack. He is doing things that he's super excited about, and he's mingling with his friends. Funny thing is school he wears a mask. But he still got it. But they ask you to wear a mask. You do. The whole, you're taking away my freedoms. Again, let's put everything in perspective, which we don't do often. If we're that worried about it when it comes to the kids or some of these things, how do we, if we're that terrified of it, then why do we allow anybody to go out? Why do we allow life to go? We can't stop life. Well, hold on a second. You're saying that life has stopped, but at the same time, you're telling me that, well, we can't, we got to stop all of this stuff. Otherwise, it's going to continue to go on like this. I don't know about you guys, but my life feels pretty much as normal as it has ever been. The only thing I get angry about is I got to wear a damn mask in here. And that's just because I wear glasses. I hate wearing the mask. I wear the damn glasses. And the minute I put it on, I take my glasses off and I can't see. It's just drives me crazy. So I'm looking at LASIK. That's all I got to say. When will we get out of this? What's the realistic end game? Dr. Fauci, I'll tell you right now.
You've been very consistent in saying that the country needs to be below 10,000 or fewer new cases a day. Since March of 2020, the country has never been below 10,000 new cases. This past June, we got to 11,000 new cases a day before the Delta surge. So is that a realistic endgame? Why is that a number?
I mean, we'd like to see it much lower than that. We'd like it to see it close to zero, Anderson. You do everything you can, particularly in the arena of vaccination, and let that number go as low as it can go. Saying 10,000 is a reasonable number, but you can't just have one number that you hang your hat on. You just want to get it as low as you possibly can.
Yeah. That's good. I mean, that's a realistic thing. Like Australia, their end game was to get to zero. Right? Their end game is to get to zero. That's never happening. You're never getting to zero. It's just not gonna happen. I couldn't even imagine like that. Well, it could if what? I mean, how does that even happen? I mean, they're at 1,700 today. 1,642, I think, is their 6-day moving average. But they were close in and around, triple digits, double digits at time. But getting to zero for a period of time, I mean, and you're on an island, which is one way you can mitigate a lot of this. And the other one is to crack down on people to the point where you keep them completely under your thumb by not allowing them to leave their house except for certain appointed periods during the day, which is insane in a Western free modern society. I always say the West, not the West, but you know what I mean. But it's like the flu, right? I mean, I think we averaged 35 million. So we average 35 million cases of flu a year. Okay? So 35 million cases of flu a year. If you were to break that down by days, it's like 95,000 a day. Why don't we treat this like the flu? I don't know. That is a good question. Yeah, it is. Right? That is. Well, we didn't have a bad flu season last year. Nah, we didn't because the kids who were the biggest spreaders of the flu didn't go to school. Oh, yeah, that's true too. Yeah. So these are all questions. At what point do we step back and say, we need to treat this like the flu? We need to be respectful of it. We need to be cautious of it. We need to keep an eye on it. But we need to allow people to make their own choices and allow businesses to make their own choices. None of that matters, though, because at the end of the day, it's all about what? The battle, the fight for control, the fight for whatever it is the hell they're fighting for. I don't even know. At this point, I've lost. I'm like, why are we fighting again? It's like, at some point, do you think the Hatfields and McCoys, what? Did somebody steal something? I know that, aren't we kind of related to what you guys have? But, I know a long time ago, like, ants shot you guys, and then you guys did this, and then and I feel like sometimes that's what we're at. It's like, I don't even know why we're here fighting. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. If this was, so I'm going to describe something. Jim Clyburn walking down the street, campaigning. Somebody runs up to him wearing a monkey mask and throws an egg at him.
We'll deal with y'all later.
You take your hands off me, touch me again.
Don't touch her, man. Don't touch her, my.
Touch me again,
Is that racist? Yeah, it is. Larry Elder, black, conservative, running against the recall expert in Gavin Newsom. Apparently, that's not racist. First of all, explains what happens in this. And it goes back to, just think about it for a second. If this was reversed in this day and age of everything's racist, why isn't this getting some more coverage?
Well, she might be one of the 20,000 people that were released early from our prisons, felons, many of whom were violent offenders under this governor. I was at a homeless encampment in Venice, and a lot of people are angry. Homeowners are angry. Families are angry. Children have to go and pass these people to and from school. And the homeless population is in danger. And it's also a health hazard, and nothing's being done about it. That's one of the many failures of this governor. So it was a very angry, ugly scene.
Yeah, it is an angry, ugly scene. And it was. It was. But how was that not? I mean, she ran up or she rode her bike or whatever, and she had a gorilla mask on.
You know, if I were a Democrat, obviously, this would be called systemic racism. They'd be calling it a hate crime. I don't like to play that game. I do know this. There was a big article about me, a negative, in the New York Times. It never once mentioned that I'm black, never once mentioned that I would be the first black governor of California. I never made a big deal out about that. I don't want people to vote for me or against me because I'm black. But on the very same page of the New York Times, there was a big article about the, quote, first female governor of New York, close quote. So they cared about the first when it was a female Democrat, but couldn't give a rip about the first when it was a black Republican.
Yeah. And people shouldn't be surprised by that. And that's why nobody trusts the media. Both sides do it. Both sides have their place where you go for affirmation. But don't be surprised when it gets no coverage but on Fox or Newsmax or One American News. I don't even count. But don't be surprised when that happens. Don't be surprised. But I think it was a fair question to ask. I mean, you're wearing a gorilla mask, throwing eggs at a black man. I don't think in any other situation that would be received anything other than a racist maneuver. That's just me.
It may be less than 2 hours north of Hollywood by car, but the city of Bakersfield is on the other side of the spectrum politically.
Newsom out, Elder in.
It's where you'll find America's last Woolworth's luncheonette counter, serving up burgers, shakes, and a side of nostalgia.
California was once a really nice place. Governor Newsom says a lot of things, but he does all bad things.
When it comes to Governor Gavin Newsom, some of the diners here have had their fill.
Yeah, there's not a change. My wife and I were out of here.
Yeah. Didn't leave. Yeah. Let me tell you something about being a Republican or even being a moderate. We're going to touch on this on the other side. Even being a moderate in California, what it's like. For those of you who live in California, listen to the show, you know. But even being a moderate in a wackiness and chaos of California is tough, let alone being somebody who's a Republican in California. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson shows your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Giza Dream Sheets, My Pillow, $50 right now. Normally $100. Half off. The best cotton in the world. Long staple cotton grown in a small little area right there in the Mediterranean. Between the Mediterranean Sea, Sahara Desert, and the Nile. Pops up. Breathable. Has a sateen feel. You're going to sleep cool and comfortable. 6-day money-back guarantee, all different sizes. Plus, they have the Giza slippers, which are back out, and that foam and gel is incredible. You can wear slippers inside and out, and deep discounts on everything. But those Giza Dream Sheets are half off. Take advantage of these things right now. Go to MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. Save big. 6-day money-back guarantee. Giza Dream Sheets. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. Take advantage. Chad Benson Show.
Hashtag me too. Hashtag immigration reforms. Hashtag help. I'm trapped in a hashtag factory and I can't get out. The Chad Benson Show.
Many Republicans here think their voices aren't heard.
No, I don't think so.
No, not really.
To some degree, they're right.
Thank you, California.
In 2018, just 41% of Kern County voters went for Newsom.
The best is yet to come.
But he won the state by a landslide. Now, Republicans are hoping to flip the governor's office. An uphill battle in a state where registered Democrats outnumber Republicans nearly 2-1.
Sometimes I wonder if it's worth voting. You know, my voice may not be heard. Is it really going to matter in California? It's always going to be Democrats.
Yeah. And that's a real problem. I mean, but that's a problem across the country in a lot of places. And we've talked about this on numerous occasions. If you go and look and see, I think there was 2 years ago, there was one state that they would consider be purple. All the other states went either blue or red. And there were several states where there were supermajorities, to the point where if you are a Democrat or a Republican in those states and the opposition party has power, your voice is minimal. Your voice is it's minimal. What kind of things that your party's going to be able to do, and your voice is minimized to the point where it doesn't even matter. And you hear people like that all the time. But eventually what happens, and what you'd like to see what happens, and by the way, I grew up in California. Right? I've had periods, I live out here in Arizona now, which when I moved out here, it was a dead red state. It is now purple. We have, our senators are Democrats, but our legislator here in the state is red. And it's getting more and more purple, and I would not be surprised if it becomes blue. Phoenix is growing in a major way. I think we're the 5th largest city in the country. You couple that with the fact that we've got an influx of young people who come here and stay here. They go to college. ASU is one of the top colleges in the country. It used to be a laughingstock. Dr. Michael Crow turned that thing around. You've got the University of Arizona out there in Tucson, plus you have affordability. California's next door. So it's starting to become more and more of a purple state. You're seeing some of that in Texas. There are some challenges along the way in Texas. So people are moving there. But why people move places like that? Because low taxes, right? Potentially low crime. But they're bringing their politics. California is never going to be in a situation where you're going to see a bunch of people on the red side of the aisle. What changes is you get to the point where you're fed up. When I grew up in California, it was always to the left, but it wasn't extreme.
At the Kern County GOP headquarters, they're trying to change that with phone calls,
hello there,
ballot drop-offs,
and then for this,
and yard signs.
The outcome is anyone's guess. This is an odd time of year to have an election, but we've had people pouring in here for the last 2 weeks.
Republican voters are energized.
There's some ballots for me?
I do. Hoping for a boost from independents and some Democrats.
These extremes produce a switch in parties. And I don't believe all the Democrats in California are of the same philosophy as the Democrats in that state capitol building.
Yeah. And I think that's a very true statement. I think, again, my family lives there. 80% of my lifelong friends live there. Some of them are Democrats, and they're like, I've had enough of this guy. This guy he doesn't get it. I said, he is. And California is it's odd. It's a weird state where the legislator will be completely to the left, but they'll put a Republican at the top. But I don't think it's going to happen. Not now. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The Department of Labor is developing an emergency rule to require all employers with 100 or more employees that together employ over 80 million workers to ensure their workforces are fully vaccinated or show a negative test at least once a week. Some of the biggest companies are already requiring this. United Airlines, Disney, Tyson's Food, and even Fox News. The bottom line, we're going to protect vaccinated workers from unvaccinated coworkers.
Oh, we're going to protect them. We're going to protect them. Protect you from the unclean and the unwashed. You people out there, unclean and unwashed, you stay away from me. So that's what we've got going on. Let the Civil War begin. And by Civil War, I mean, remember, America, we've had our Civil War. we will never have a civil war like we had before for a lot of reasons. Most of all, because people who think we're going to go into one completely overestimate people's want to actually do things. Right? We're going to have a civil war. Really? If it's an app, we'll have a civil war. If we can have an avatar to do it for us, maybe. But if we have to participate, I don't. No. You might say, oh, it sounds good. That sounds good. Let's do this. But then the time rolls around. Okay, we're doing it on Saturday. And, Saturday, no, not having a civil war. But the gauntlet thrown down yesterday by Biden was always going to be challenged in the court. The courts are leaning which way right now? The court. And by that, I mean the court. And by that, I mean the only court that really matters. The one that is stronger than the other two branches, because at the end of the day, it is the final say. Trump's lasting legacy was always going to be that. And guess what? I think they're going to be challenged left, right, and center. I think employers are going to have a tough time with this. When you're having a tough time finding employees, an even tougher time holding on to good ones, potentially asking people, incentivizing them, and then saying, I'm mandating it, may put you in a situation you don't want to be in. You know what an employer wants to do? Sell his widget, right? She wants to sell her services of IT, and he wants to do this. That's all they want to do. And now they're drawn into it. For the last several years, they've been drawn into politically, right? Hey, guess what? This state did this and not allowed anybody who ever wants to go in any bathroom ever and identifying against anything has decided, nope. If you're a woman, you got to go in here. And if you're a man, you got to go in here. And that's just the way it's going to be. Well, we're never going to do business again. And they look at you and go, you can't do business to there. You can't do business with us. And you're like, I'm going to sell her widget. This is something else. So the federal employees, but on top of that, businesses with 100 or plus employees above, you're going to either have to mandate this, you're going to either have to get a shot, or you have to be tested once a week. Who's paying for the test? If I've got to pay for the test out of my own pocket, who's paying for it? Are you paying for it? Am I paying for it? More questions there. I think most people will be fine with that. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I caught this thing. I've been vaccinated. I am so pro-vaccine. I'm kind of a risk taker, though. I just want to tell you guys that, because when they said they were having opportunities for people to apply to be on the test group, I'm like, sign me up. I'm a super risk taker. Let's do it. I won't eat anything, but my 5-year-old diet will allow me to eat. Hot dogs, macaroni and cheese. I'm telling you tonight, you know what I'm having? Barbecued hot dog and Kraft macaroni and cheese. Why? Because I'm 7, followed by my vanilla ice cream. Because that's me. That's who I am. But I'm a risk taker in a lot of other things. Science is amazing. Science isn't perfect. It's evolving, much like this virus has. I'm pro-vaccine, but I'm more pro-freedom than anything else. I am more pro-freedom than anything else. I look at Australia, a place where, to be completely honest with you, you can put on par with us in a lot of ways. I've lived all over the world, and people have asked me, if you had to live one other place forever, where would you choose? And before they even say that, I'd say Australia. Because it's the closest thing that you will find to America. They have been locked down for 2 months. Locked down. Because they have this insane goal of getting to zero. Zero. Endemic, not pandemic. It's not going anywhere. Zero is not an option. And if your goal is to get to essentially net zero, when you have 1,700 cases, Australia has 1,700 cases in the country of 25 million people. So even, ABC News did a thing the other day. They said paradise. Australia states free of COVID resist opening. If you live in fear, fear has won. Biden's going to have a battle on his hands. He knew that. He knew he was going to piss people off. The totalitarian dictator, all of that stuff was going to fly out. And he always knew this was going to end in court. He knew this was going to be a tough ask. Now, the federal employees, they're probably going to have to comply with this. The contractors, which is a lot of people who contract with the government, are also going to have some issues. And businesses over 100 plus 80 million people. Much like what happened in Afghanistan, we have to ask ourselves, what are we really looking for? Zero's not an option at this point in time. And if it's endemic, which pretty much most, epidemiologists say it's going to be, it ain't going anywhere. So what's the number? Because like with Afghanistan, we got there, there was no end game. And the end game we came up with was a nightmare. But what is our end game? Where we just live our lives. At what point do we say, you know what, we're not counting this every day. We're not making the big deal about it. We're just getting on with our life. What point do we say that? With all these freedoms I love comes responsibility. You have a responsibility not to be an a-hole to your neighbor. Right? And by that I mean, I'm not talking about the neighbor next door. I'm just talking about you go into a store. They've asked you to wear something. You put the damn mask on. How many times do I have to say this? If Costco says it's top hot, you got to wear a top hat today and tails, and you have to have a monocle to get in, I'm like, well, I'm going to have to, if that's their deal. If it's your business that you work at and they want you to wear a mask around there, as frustrating it may be, okay. Because they're CYA in himself, because the second greatest thing that we do here in the United States is sue each other. That should be an Olympic sport for us. But the end game, it's the thing I've always asked. What's the end game? At what point do we return? What about the kids? That's what we're hearing now. It's all about the kids. California. You look over there, LAUSD, second largest school district in the country behind New York, mandating vaccines for everybody 12 plus, because obviously there's nothing else. I hear people, it's about the kids. It's about the kids. Very few kids are being affected by this in any real way. Oh, there's kids of course there is. There's kids in the hospital with the flu. This thing cast a wider net. I will absolutely say that. But in saying all of that, my son's had it. Stepdaughters have had it. Little ones had it. I've had it. Several of their friends have had it. It's healthier for them to live their lives. If you want to have them wear a mask in the classroom, fine. Well, yeah, that's fine. But outside, they don't have to wear a mask. Okay, but they're going to interact with each other. So what happens at that point? Well, but they're outside. Okay, but they're going to go home. Are you going to tell them they can't hang out with their friends? Are you going to tell them they can't? I mean, at what point do we say, okay, we're going to have to learn to live with this thing, through this thing, around this thing, now above this thing? I implore people, get a vaccine. Talk to your doctor. Zero problems with that. And if you don't want one, I don't have a problem with it. But if it's because you think you're going to be microchipped or you're going to be magnetic, first of all, being magnetic would be awesome. I'm not going to lie to you. If somebody told me, hey, there's a good chance if we give you the shot, you could have some superpowers, I'd be like, all right, I'm cool with that. Maybe that's the way they should have spun it. You tell everybody that. Hey, this shot's pretty awesome. It's going to keep you safe. And there's a chance you're going to get like X-Men powers. You'd be like, I'm signing up. I'm signing up for that. Yes. But the battle that we have in this country right now is a battle of trying to win an argument. You're not trying to actually find a solution. There's no civil war coming, but there will be battles over this, and then this thing will move away, and we'll fight over something because we can no longer agree to disagree in a kind way, and we're no longer interested in finding solutions to stuff. We're only interested in being right. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. Even with your hate, I'm fine with that as well. If it makes you feel better to say I'm an awful person, then I'm glad to know that I made you feel better. Raycon, best earbuds around. Wear my Raycons every day. 2 days ago, I was working with a guy who is big-time Hollywood muckety-muck and works at the WB, and we were sitting there and we're chatting, and I'm like, dude, you got to get these things. The best things in the world. You will find nothing better. He's like, yeah, I hate the stems. There's no stems. There's no wires. There's 45-day happiness guarantee. I tell all of my friends, try mine, who work in the, the industry, who are audiophiles, who work on every single digital digital system you can find. Audio systems you can find, who live in a world of audio, and they'll all tell me the same thing. The best stuff around. Try it for yourself. 45-day happiness guarantee. Choose your color. An amazing charging case. Gives you up to 4 full charges. You will love these things. And the price, well, it starts well under $100. Under $70. BuyRaycon.com/Chad. Go there now. BuyRaycon.com/Chad. Save an extra 15%. BuyRaycon.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
Deep states? No. Deep doo-doo? Yeah. The Chad Benson Show.
Can I just say, I love watching the game last night. I loved watching the game last night. It was amazing. There was a packed out crowd that was loving every second. Tampa's coming in. They've got their, it's blaring. The pirate ship looks amazing. They've got this incredible, montage of them winning the Super Bowl. Out comes Tom Brady. The whole thing was awesome. And it lived up to the hype. Because you're playing America's team, the Cowboys. You got Dak Prescott coming off that nasty, dislocated, broken ankle. He played lights out. But you look over, and there he is. He's 44. He's 44 years old. He's like, 44? Playing football? Yeah. Not playing football. Chris Collinsworth said it last night. Should we dare ask the question? But it should be asked. Is he better at 44 than he was at 24? Yes. He's smarter. He gets the ball out faster. His sense of timing, and by the way, they're better than they were last year, and they won the Super Bowl. But it was just great to see. It felt like fall. It felt real. Same thing over the weekend. It felt real. Fauci's like, those kids in the stadiums is bad. And, if I was them, I would have just not played sports and we'd all stay indoors. And you'd need to wear 8 masks. And for God's sake, somebody cover your ears, because we found out now this new variant of it, the moo, can get through your ears. So, wow. It's just awesome. But the kids could get sick. It could be a super spreader event. What isn't? Going outdoors. If it's a super spreader event, then isn't 500 kids going to a school, even if they're wearing a mask, a super spreader event? Some point, we need to learn to live above this thing. Fear cannot be the thing that runs us. But watching Tom Brady operate, Dak Prescott, 403 yards. I think he threw the ball 9,000 times. He had no fear. He was running all over the place. He looked awesome. By the way, Cowboys are real. They're real. We have a guy. Let me tell you about how excited. So being in the local station here, we have a guy named Wolf, and Wolf is awesome. So Wolf actually played in the NFL for a decade. His brother played for the Steelers for a very long time. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler. He come out last night, and he talks like, "Hey, Chad, what's going on? Hi, guys. He was doing because he's the announcer, play-by-play guy for the Arizona Cardinals, and they had their Big Red Rage, is the show they do on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I'm like, Wolf, what's happening? He goes, "Oh, brother, I'm so excited. Can you just see? Look, the Cowboys are real, brother. The Cowboys, but Tom Brady, the Cowboys are real. Oh, bro, oh my God, brother, this is awesome. It's just so." It is so much fun. But to me, what it felt like was normalcy. It was a normal way of life. We're getting back to that world of living again, which is beautiful. You can't live in fear. You can't. You can respect the virus, but you can't live in fear. And you need to respect Tom Brady. Because, my God. And Gronk, 2 touchdowns. He looks like the old Gronk. Just saying. Boom! 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Got some fun stuff coming up. You're going to like this. Comedian that we played a bit of yesterday. People have been asking, play some of that stuff again. We'll do it straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
My dogs, Doodle, Bowie, and Red, are part of my family. Making sure they have everything they need to live a healthy life is very important to us. When I learned about health issues related to my dogs not getting the right nutrition, I was concerned, and that's why I am a proud customer of Rough Greens. Dogs need live nutrition just like we do. But here's the problem pet parents face. For dog food to last, it needs to be shelf stable. And that means it has no live nutrients. The result is your dog's food is dead food. Sometimes itching and scratching, lack of energy, digestive issues, they're not medical issues at all, but more likely they are nutritional deficiencies from eating dead food. I've worked out a special offer for my listeners. Rough Greens is going to let you try it before you buy it free. Just cover shipping and get your free bag of Rough Greens today. Visit ruffgreens.com/Chad. Dogs need live nutrition just like we do. Try it before you buy it free. Rough Greens, they make any pet food better. ruffgreens.com/Chad.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
4 to 8 floors. Major flames are coming out of the north side and also the east side of the building, yes. And it was very loud explosion followed by flames, and it looks like the building is still on fire on the inside.
Which building are we talking about? The one that's westernmost?
Let's see. Yes, sir.
Did you hear the explosion from your position?
Yes, we did. As a matter of fact, we heard it, and because I was just like standing there pretty much looking out the window, I didn't see what caused it or if there was an impact.
So you have no idea right now?
There's another one. Another plane just hit. Right. Oh, my God. Another plane has just hit. It hit another building. Flew right into the middle of it. Explosion. My God, it's right in the middle of the building.
And that right there is how it happened 20 years ago tomorrow. 20 years ago. Every one of us listening right now, minus a few of you out there who may be younger, remember it. You remember it. I remember where I was. Now, it's weird. As you get older, you look back on things in life. And I look back and, I knew what was going on in my life and stuff like that. But it seems like forever ago. But what doesn't seem like forever ago is that day, that morning. Like, I can't tell you, anything that happened the day before. But that morning, I can tell you what happened well before that. And I can also tell you what happened in the subsequent days that followed. As if they were like everything else. It's like everything's blurry, but those. Everything is absolutely blurry, but that snapshot. I was doing voiceover, but I was also a broker. I had a brokerage firm. I had to pay for my voiceover as I was trying to grow my business. And I love finance. And we had a small little place in Southern California, Newport Beach. We're up early. And we're up very early because we are dealing with New York Times. We're on the phone, actually, with people inside of the World Trade Towers, because the NYMEX, so you got the commodities exchange that is in the building, and I'm talking to our flow broker, and she is telling me there was a plane that hit the building, but the way that it kind of, like it's the telephone game, it was like a little plane, like somebody maybe had a heart attack and they're flying their Cessna and they crashed into it. They weren't thinking anything. And then it started popping off that maybe there was stuff going on, that maybe there was, so we run upstairs because we have this, it's literally like a 2-story apartment building, and the bottom floor was like a 3-bedroom like condo had been turned into an office, and the top floor was like just a little 1-bedroom. And our buddy lived up there, him and his wife. We were banging on the door because our TV went out like 2 days earlier. So we go upstairs and we're like, dude, you gotta wake up, you gotta wake up. And he wakes up. So he's like, what are you guys doing? We're like, wake up, wake up. And his wife and they're looking around like, we're under attack. We flip the TV on. Within seconds, we're seeing it. And it was like it stood still. We play it over and over and over in our minds. What is going on? I had just flown back the Sunday before from Seattle. I was like, oh my God. It was insane, as all of you remember. The not knowing, and then the subsequent days afterwards. The haze, the just this eerie sense, and the thing that really was after that dust, if you will, that first day, was the quiet. Streets were empty. I remember in the afternoon, the only place that was open, everything else closed down. Every restaurant, every fast food place, everything was closed down. We had to go and because my buddy and I, Lars, we were living in the office. And we were just kind of like, we're just dudes. We're just like, we're going and getting snacks, and that's kind of how we're living our lives. I know, shocker, right? So I remember going and the 7-Eleven up the street. It's weird. It's such a weird day, too, on top of all that. The 7-Eleven up the street is packed because everything's closed except for that. And Dennis Rodman walks in. We're like, oh, God, because it's Newport Beach. And he's like, I can't believe it's heaven. We're just like, okay, I should probably have a party. Get my nails done. So, but the eerie thing is the subsequent days afterwards. Obviously, all of our trading had stopped. So we've got clients that are stuck in stuff. You have to go, okay, now how am I going to do this? Because the markets may explode, if you will, using a term, or they could just collapse in the days after. How are we going to get people out of stuff? And I remember I have 2 New York firemen who are my clients, father and son. I call them up, not expecting to get anything because I know where they work. He answers the phone. His son and him were fishing, and neither of them were there that day, and they lost every single one of their coworkers. I interviewed a lady yesterday. Stacy Goodman is her name. She was a Suffolk County police officer, and they federalized her immediately. And she'd only been on the job for a little while, but she, in 1996, she worked the TWA crash out there. I think it was off Long Island. And so they federalized her immediately and asked her to come over. And as she called it, she worked on the pile because that's what they called it at the point in time. It was the pile. And listening to her is eerie as she talks about what it was like being there just right afterwards, if you will, after everything had collapsed. And it was just, it's chilling.
The devastation was unrecognizable. The amount of debris, there was just particles of dust floating everywhere, and there was no. The landscape had totally changed. There was no street signs to give you direction. It was just gray ash everywhere. It looked like you landed on the moon or something. It was just horrific. It was just piles and piles of twisted steel, metal. There was smoke and ash everywhere.
Yeah. She talked about the fact that, the medical examiner couldn't even touch a body until she had looked at the body and tried to identify it. Because the minute it became a federal crime, she goes, you're trying to you're treating this as these people with the utmost respect. But it's also, I said, she was there 23 days straight, essentially 24 hours a day. I also talked yesterday to a guy named Michael McCormick. He was actually the head traffic control for the northeastern side of the country. He was the New York traffic control manager. He worked 10 days straight inside of his office. His wife brought him some clothes. He was the one who made the call to shut the entire country down. And it was just a very interesting thing as he talks about the fact that, he had to alert the military to the Shanksville thing, and he had to alert them and say they've been hijacked. And they basically said they were given essentially like the kill order to go get it if they thought it was going somewhere. I think we all remember where we were that day. And we take a step back. We look back 2 decades. And we had a 9/11 moment. Our congressmen and women, they're out there. They're singing. They weren't Republicans or Democrats. They were mixed together. They were Americans. We came together. We were Americans. Flash forward 20 years, Afghanistan. We got in. We wandered out. It was a hot mess. Right? I mean, look, that thing was never going to be easy, but Biden, he jacked the pooch on that. And then you look at how we're fighting with COVID, and we don't have an out plan for that. We're not even. You go back, and like I said, the subsequent days afterwards is things I remember. People were a little bit kinder. They had a smile on their face. There was a little bit more of a. It was a somber feeling, but it was a feeling of just kind of like this, whoa, but hey, we're going to be all right. We're getting through this. We're getting through this. I was talking yesterday too to Luis Gonzalez. Luis Gonzalez Gonzo was played for the Diamondbacks, and he goes, so they played game 3 there. Obviously it was like 45 days after 9/11. That's the pitch, the famous pitch. Jeter told Bush, you better not bounce it. But he goes, the first thing you notice, he goes, when we were driving into the stadium was the security. And he goes, by the way, they made it known to the world by not just the copters, but by how many snipers they had everywhere that they were seen. He goes, and the second thing was, he goes, when we get out there in the field and stuff, and we know, and we just feel the energy in the people, and he goes, we're starting to look, and we start counting, and we're like, why do they have like 10 umpires, 12 umpires? And they had umpires go out with him. Those weren't umpires, he said. Those were Secret Service agents dressed as umpires. I was like, oh. But he said the atmosphere, it was electric in those 3 days. And he goes, the only time in history where the Yankees, people are actually rooting for the Yankees to win. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Let's have a little fun when we come back. wrap this bad dog up. I think we're going to enjoy it. Luis Perez, the guy that we played some of his stuff yesterday, we're going to play some more of it because he's just hilarious, and people have been asking, who was that guy? And his just hilarious look at people who are Trump cult fanatics, but not the Trump cult fanatics you would think. They're anti-Trump, but they've turned that into a cult. We'll talk about that straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
I am so disappointed that particularly some Republican governors have been so cavalier with the health of these kids.
Of course you are. Cavalier. Because they want to give parents a choice, right? Is that kind of it? Well, yeah. Look, out here, I think the way that Ducey's handled some stuff, I wouldn't, if a school district wants to have kids wear masks, I would sit down with a school district. This is how normal people work, right? So normal human beings who are trying to come up with a solution. Hey, you're not going to keep this thing in perpetuity. This isn't going to be a forever thing. Let's sit down and talk about what do we think is best. Best for the teachers, best for everybody, but also know that the hell and havoc it's going to cause. It's not going to make everybody happy. How do we come to a place where we can talk about this without? But what happens is one side goes to the extreme, the other side goes to the extreme, and then the 75% of us who are common sense individuals are going, this is not a solution. This is two idiots fighting over stuff. And then we have to come up with the solution, and then either one of them try to take credit for it. It's frustrating. They're disappointed in you. You're disappointed in them. Welcome to the world of politics. Yesterday, and we're going to have him on next week. I spoke to him. We're going to have him on next week. I found this guy the other day, and I just thought it's hilarious. So he has these parodies that he does, and they're well put together parodies. I mean, absolutely phenomenally put together parodies of people that are inside of what is a support group of people who can't stand Trump. And we played it. Everybody thought it was funny. And people were asking me, hey, dude, can you play it again? I said, all right, I'll play it again. So the first one is, I love this one. This is a guy like a late night show host. So picture this. It's like eight or 10 people all sitting around in their chairs in like an empty room, like it would be at like a school or a church. And there's a person that's like, she's leading it, and it's a court order thing that they all have to be here because they're in their own cult of hate for Trump. And she asked the comedian, like, why aren't you funny anymore?
Have you considered telling actual jokes instead of just reciting Trump's tweets?
Where the hell am I supposed to get jokes?
Don't you have a writing staff?
We have the most diverse writing staff in television.
Well, there you go. Have them write some jokes for you.
They're diverse, not funny. Unless you consider them hilariously diverse.
Okay, Howie, you used to be a funny guy. I remember you making me laugh years ago. What happened to you?
I got tired. Being funny is hard. It's a lot easier being brave.
And that diverse thing with the writing staff, you guys have no idea. We'll talk about it next week. I'm trying to get my buddy to come on who was on a show, but it's a show that's predominantly people of color, and they said, no, you can't work on the show anymore. The director and the actors were fighting, like, no, he's great. He's probably the only one who's got any talent. He couldn't be on the show anymore. So this one, though, is my favorite. So it's an Antifa guy who's upset, because of Trump, and he wants to be a hero.
Normally, burning down a black neighborhood would be frowned upon. But if you just say you're protesting Donald Trump, it's okay. I mean, I could literally show up and start torching local businesses and shit, and not only would nobody get mad at me, they'd actually call me a hero.
How does destroying low-income neighborhoods make you a hero?
I don't know. But check this out. I was at a defund the police protest in Minnesota last week, and I picked up a trash can, threw it through a laundromat window like I've done dozens of times. This time was different. This time I got arrested, and the feds tear gassed me. No media coverage, nobody calling me a hero. What's up with that?
That sounds like justice.
Or fascism.
You think getting arrested for vandalism is fascism?
Is it? I don't know what fascism means.
I don't know what fascism means. Sums it up right there. We're going to have him on next week. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. You guys have a safe, fun weekend. Football starts this weekend. Pumped about it. College football, regular football. It's time, baby. A little changing, cooler in some areas, right? A little fall here. I'm excited about that. We will do it again next week. You guys have a good one as always. Night, night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.